actual vodcast, and are you going to introduce us this time?
Yes, I am. I am going to introduce you this time because, well, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to let you do it because I forgot. But anyway, welcome. This is episode 3 of what we're, for the time being, calling the Time Enough Vodcast. Until we think of a better name. I think Locked In is probably the front runner so far. I just haven't changed it on the actual editing file. So, if we go on the screen, just go for it. Just first one to say it out loud wins.
I'm Nick.
Yes.
Hey, I'm Heather.
Yes.
I'm Lucy.
Yes.
I am Will.
Talicia's not playing the game.
Yeah, I was just gonna go ahead and not introduce myself today.
Okay, well, the person who doesn't want to be introduced by me or herself is Talicia. Hi, Talicia. Most of you are regular contributors to the
Get out of the plant.
podcast as well. But Lucy's the first joining us here on this new kind of Metro discussion format. So welcome, Lucy. Thank you for joining us again.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. So what has happened since the last time we spoke? Since the last time we spoke, we had a successful Metro movie trivia night hosted on this here very thing on Zoom. We had like 25 people on the screen, and me and Nick co-hosted it in remote locations. Everybody was remote, of course.
I mean, I live in Edmonton, so it's not too remote. But
no, I suppose by kind of like, modern standards, modern social standards, it was very remote. But I'm surprised. I'm amazed it worked. To be honest.
Yeah, so it worked.
It worked. Yeah.
It worked.
I think people were happy with it. I'm not sure about.
Oh yeah, people were very grateful.
Using Twitch was perhaps not the best idea in the world because of the delay, but I think it kind of.
I think there's a midpoint solution that we haven't thought of that will make it feasible for sure.
Okay, you think standing outside people's houses with a boombox is the
that was
solution?
my plan. Yeah, that was my plan.
Okay, well.
So, were there any surprises in the rankings, or was it pretty standard?
So the team that wins usually, that is Blue Hawaii. They won by a single point. Because they got a absolutely perfect score.
No, only on the last round.
In the last round, yes.
In the last round, it was like the one team got the Claire Denis question wrong and got.
Wait,
19.
this was the month with the Claire Denis question?
I did say, Will. I did say to you.
Well,
that
I
you
didn't know you were doing an online thing.
Will, you should have been on that person's team, Cameron.
Wait,
because
I posted it online. I told him the Claire Denis question was I played a track from 35 Shots of Rum when they go to the disco.
Oh.
You would have got it. You would have got it.
In the music round?
Yeah.
Oh man, people must have hated that.
They did.
Well, he gave a lot of clues for everything.
I did, yeah. But it was just difficult to give clues because there was a delay, so I could sort of I couldn't hear myself say the clues back into my headphones, and then a couple minutes later I would hear myself.
I wonder if I was the most confused of all, because I think I was trying to listen to everything and it didn't work.
Yeah, well, I mean, it seemed I saw lots of people nodding as though it was making sense. So I'm assuming that it must have worked for some people. Well, it must have worked for some people because some people got 10 out of 10. So there's that. But that was good. So thank you all for taking part in that. Not just you guys who took part on this screen right now, but also out there in the world. That was fantastic. And if we are still stuck here at the end of April, then we'll do it then again, I think. But Will, welcome to the Vodcast for the first time. How lovely to see
thanks. You. You know what? It's lovely to see you too. I'm so sorry that I missed the quiz and the Claire Denis question.
I did write it specifically for you, which I shouldn't really be telling anybody that is a thing that I do. But sometimes it's nice just to be like, I know that only one person will get that, like immediately.
I didn't realize you were doing an online quiz. If I'd known, I would have been there.
No, I think a lot of people didn't realize that, which is, I guess a lot of people don't look at Facebook anymore.
It's fair to say that there's an art to designing the trivia and knowing your audience and like trying to strike a balance between what different people's interests are and also strike a balance between ones that you assume 80% of the room will know and ones that only 10% of the room or 2% of the room will know.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no secret there.
No. And plus I know every time who's going to get annoyed. That's more the way I gear it, I think, is how many people I can annoy rather than how many people I can please, I think. but not really, of course. So, Will, what have you been up to in this isolation lockdown? What have you?
Oh, so much.
Yeah, what have you
Just a
done?
profound amount.
I know that there's something that you're absolutely dying to tell us that's in your hand, or something about a Blu-ray, or
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I bought a DVD. I don't know if you can see, but it's a criterion of this Wim Wenders film that's like 5 hours long. It's pretty great.
what is it
It's called
called?
the.
Did
It's
you
called
watch it in
Until
one
the End of the
go?
World. Sorry,
Did you watch it in one go?
I have seen it in one full swoop, and it was pretty great.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's I mean it's the perfect time to watch like a 5 hour long film.
It really
There's
is.
nothing else to do.
It really is. So the one thing that we did the first time, we gave each other a film to watch. Well, I mean, we didn't really. I just sort of like
Can we go
loosely
back? I want to hear more. What is the Wim Wenders film though? I don't know what it is.
Rewind.
Sorry. It's called Until the End of the World, and it's set during 1999. It was made in I think like the late 80s, and it's about like this guy who's invented a camera that can record your dreams, and that's sort of like this weird campy sci-fi all across the world road movie, but it's like brilliant and just ridiculous.
Okay.
Pretty great.
Cool. I've never heard of it.
I
My
think
sister waited till the pandemic to start a dream journal, and all her dreams are just like horrible nightmares about sci-fi pandemic stuff. And every day she's like, "Oh yikes!"
but
Will, have you ever?
I'm sure it'll be hilarious in years to come. I don't know.
You gotta hope it's not funny now.
Not now. No.
Have you seen the Koreeda film Afterlife?
Yeah, I have.
I've seen it.
It's also a great film.
Yeah, about recording. It also is about recording dreams.
Mm.
So
I
there
thought
you
it was
go.
about. No, that's not what it's about. Is it?
It's
about like recreating your favorite memory and the afterlife.
But then they film it, and you can take the film, you recreate it, and then you film it, and then you take the filmed version with you.
It's just not a It's a memory.
I
not
guess
a
so. Memory. Right.
Yeah.
Memory.
But yeah, I see the connection.
There's a link there. I think it would be harsh to say that is an outrageous connection.
No. I get it.
So what was I going to say? Yeah. So the very first one of these we did, I decided to give everybody a film to watch for the next one. So I chose Escape from Alcatraz because it was in the list of new additions to the Netflix streaming service. And this time we weren't sure if you were going to be able to join us. So Nick said, in honor of your absence, we should watch Ready Player One because of how much you like it.
I made a mistake.
Nick made a mistake, and I think
I
think what's happened is that no one watched it because certainly, I mean, I've got it on in the background now, and that's as close as you're going to get. I've seen it, and I didn't think it was very good. But
I literally tried. I watched it for about 10 minutes, and it was the most like depressing and most boring thing I had ever watched at the time.
I watched the trailer, and it was just like visual hell. Like
Yes.
I just wanted it to end.
That's a really good
It's like-
description of it.
It's
Just
like
visual
in the
hell.
future. It's in the future where everyone's locked in their houses, and the only way they can experience anything is digitally.
Right, as if it's not the most relevant.
But it's
film of
also
all
so
time.
boring. But it's also just so boring.
Yeah.
And they're going into this like magical world where you can do or be anything, but it all just looks shitty. Like it just looks bad.
You can only do or be
reflective
things
of
from the
right now.
1980s.
It's absolutely true, and I'd forgotten. I think it probably occurred to me the first time I watched it, but I just couldn't help but think, what if the sort of the love interest was just an old man? You know, because your avatar can be anything, can't it? I mean, why does it have to be a young, suitable, you know, kind of like person of an opposite gender? Why couldn't it have just been an old man? That would have been a much more interesting ending, I think, to the film. I don't remember how it ends, by the way. I mean, you know, you tell me.
It has like the greatest ending because the guy, the like protagonist, he wins this award where he gets to own the like virtual universe, and then he decides that it'll be closed on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
So that people can go outside? Is that really what
just so that they can go outside.
Okay.
Sounds better than the ending to Casablanca.
I think
that is the greatest ending.
I think that your description of it is probably greater than the experience of watching the film.
It's pretty great. I don't know.
So if you have Netflix, just look at where it's playing, but just listen to this description of it. Watch the little trailer of it, and then remember what Will said, and then save yourself 2 hours or whatever.
It's only been 5 days since we last recorded, so I would have watched it if it had been a full week. I think.
Okay.
I would have got there.
I maybe would have
You're
watched
not
it.
going to try now.
Too late.
I watched other things instead. I'll be perfectly honest. I watched Greener Grass, which we showed at Metro a little while ago. I think was the debut film from. I wrote. Where did I put it here? It's a debut film directed by Jocelyn de Boer and Dawn. I don't know how to say that last. It's Luebbe. How do you say that? Lueb? Lube? I don't know. Anyway, it's directed by both of them and written by both of them, and it stars both of them as well. And it's this very strange film. It's kind of reminded me a little bit of the Quentin Dupieux films, the like Wrong and Rubber. There's those very off kilter kind of really, really, really black comic films. And there is a sort of loose narrative in there somewhere. It feels like you're watching lots of these little vignettes that are kind of like comedy skits, but there is a kind of like overarching storyline to it as well that it does kind of end. But what happens in it is so absurd. There's this woman who decides to just give her child away to her friend because her friend is jealous that she has a child, and then her friend can't have another child. So she adopts a football, like a soccer ball, and calls it Wilson. And then the mother who gave the child away tries to get the baby back, and then she's just very, very easily influenced. So her friends tell her that divorce is a great idea. So she divorces her husband, and then just sort of runs around this kind of. When we spoke about it before, it looks kind of almost like a twisted Tim Burton-esque world. Everything is like these very kind of harsh, these kind of very pastel colors and things like that, and people drive around in golf carts. It's just this very strange world, but it's a really, really interesting film to watch when you're kind of slowly going mad yourself, because I don't know, I enjoyed it anyway. So
I remember when we were screening it, it was like the reading the synopsis was, I think, not. It wasn't intriguing to people just to read the synopsis, and then when I would try to explain even the trailer, it's just too bizarre to explain. You have to see the aesthetic of the film to really understand what wavelength it is operating on.
Yeah.
Because the trailer is one of the most intriguing, ridiculous trailers I've ever seen.
Yeah, but go on.
I was going to say, I don't want to be too reductive, and I haven't seen it. I do want to. I remember seeing the trailer and being like, oh, but I haven't watched it. It seems like, again, I don't want to reduce it too much, but it seems a little bit akin to like an Adult Swim type of humor, like a Tim and Eric kind of anti-comedy type
yeah,
of thing.
Totally.
No, that's definitely the sort of flavor. Again, I would say that it's very much like those like Wrong and Rubber, in that if you don't go along with it, you're not going to access it at any point, really. There's no kind of like real entry point into it, unless, I guess, if you're familiar with those kinds of with that kind of comedy.
I want to hear about the movie.
Well,
yeah, okay. Can I talk about? Oh, sorry, Heather. Were you?
No, you go, and I have something to talk about too. I watched a movie, one movie.
Oh, nice. We both watched. If it's the same movie, we're really in business. Was it Thunder Road?
It was not.
Has anyone else seen Thunder Road?
Yeah, that's the one we showed recently at Metro, wasn't it? Thunder Road, the one that was based on the short that was all done in one take.
I didn't realize we showed that.
Yeah,
it was really great. It was really good. I loved it. Yeah.
Okay.
So I have seen the short, like that it was based on. So originally it was this like one take shot short that's just the funeral scene, which I don't know if it's the same in the future, but and then there was a big deal about him trying to get the rights to the song because the Thunder Road figures into the short.
So was the song in the short, or did they just?
It was.
Oh, okay.
It was, but I think it took quite a bit of work to get the rights to the song. But then, again, I keep talking about trailers, but when I saw the trailer for the feature, I really felt like this was a movie that they could not convey the tone through the trailer does make it look like a major downer, which I just knew from reading about it that was not the case. But I don't know why it was so hard for them to sell this movie.
And then I think they overcorrect too hard because every blurb calls it like a comedy.
Yeah.
And then you're watching the trailer and you're kind of like, that just doesn't seem like it at all. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's funny that you say that about not getting the rights, because in this one they have the funeral scene that's about, he talks a lot about the song Thunder Road. Yeah. But they do a thing where like he wants to play it on the boombox and he just can't get the boombox to work, and so he does it without music. And it works really well. Like I didn't even realize that was a thing. I just thought that was, yeah.
I think that's the best. That is the short, but I don't know if they still needed to get some kind of permission because to sing it, right? But that's what makes it so great.
Okay.
Yes, the idea is it's about like a cop who's dealing with his mom has just passed away, and he's going through a divorce and trying to get custody of his kid. But the whole thing is it just kind of deals with all of these, you know, he's trying to get through all of this, but he doesn't know how to get through it and how to express anything. So he's just kind of exploding with rage all the time, but he can't really address the fact that that's something that he's doing rather than something that's happening to him. And so it just keeps happening, and he just is furious with the world and doesn't realize that it's him who's kind of causing these things that he can't get past.
That does sound super sad.
Is it the actor? Is the actor also the writer director?
Yeah, exactly. So it's like a really
Jim Cummings is the guy that did it. Yeah, he directed it, wrote it, and starred in it as well.
And everything I've heard about this movie is basically just how it's really, it's for emerging filmmakers, it's a really great example of what you can do with like, very small crew and very limited budget.
Any other recommendations? Heather, what was the film you watched?
Yeah, so I mentioned it on Friday that I was looking forward to watching this movie, The Servant, which is on Mubi right now. So it is a 1963 movie, I think, that is set in London, and it is directed by Joseph Losey, I believe is the name, who also directed this this film noir that I really love called The Prowler. Mm-hmm. And after watching it, or as I was watching it, I was convinced that this movie was an inspiration for Parasite, and then I Googled it, and a quick Google search revealed that this is true. There's like a list of 5 movies that Bong Joon-ho says influenced the Parasite, and this is one of them. So it is, and it's also kind of described as like a proto-Polanskian psychological thriller written by Harold Pinter.
Oh wow! Okay.
And it is a really weird movie to watch, but it's really like the way it's directed is really fun. Like it's in this like one of these like classic British like 3-story townhouses where it's like kind of claustrophobic. The way because there's the staircase that runs through the house, and like the camera's always kind of having to go up and down the staircase because there's a servant who's been hired by this young man who's clearly like born into money, and he's just bought when the movie opens, he's just bought this house and it's kind of a total wreck. Like he's got a good deal on it, and he's gonna fix it up, and so he's hiring a manservant because he just thinks it would be great to have one. And it's really unclear what he does. Like he's just been in the jungle, and he's maybe going back to Brazil to be involved in some development, but he never ends up going there. He just ends up kind of hanging around his house being a rich guy. Okay. And his girlfriend immediately does not trust this manservant and clashes with him all the time. And then he ends up bringing in someone who he claims to be his sister to be the maid. And I don't want to give any more away, but it's like they have their own weird goals and interests in being in this household, and so it kind of when the movie starts, I think you start by assuming that the servant is going to be like the protagonist, and that the person he's working for is going to be a bit of an antagonist, and then it reverses, and it's very mod. Like it feels like it's early 60s, but it kind of feels like it's really in this like mod world, like the scenes that take place in the bar that's like the guy hangs out in and stuff, are really cool. And yeah, anyway,
all right,
lots of fun. So it's on Mubi for a few more days. So if you have it, or
that's
Mubi
is the one that it changes the rotation of. It's got 30 or so films, isn't it? And every
30
month,
films,
the
they add
whole
one every day and they drop one every day, and so you always know exactly how many days you have left to watch a film. And it's kind of a mixed bag, but they do somewhat curated programs. So they've got a few Louis Malle films up right now, and they were doing like post-war Japan, I think, for a while.
Ooh.
Yeah,
and I think it's $1 for membership right now as well.
Something like that. Yeah. I mean, I've had my membership for a few years. It's like still kind of
what would be
thing I signed on to. So
a great idea? A database of like, because these exist, but a database for art house and international films that tells you what services they're on, and like can categorize them by genre, or not genre, but movement, or you know what I mean, aesthetic or country or something like that. That would be cool. I'd like that. There's
a few good, but so one that I'm going to recommend is one that I posted online. So I posted it on Facebook somewhere in the last couple of days. It's called Land of Look Behind, and it's a documentary from 1982 directed by Alan Greenberg. The reason that I knew about it was because I listened to a musician called Kay Lima, who's like an ambient sort of soundscape musician who's been making music since the 70s. Used to be in a band that was kind of very sort of Talking Heads-ish, called Savant. And I found this soundtrack for this film, Land of Look Behind, and it's just incredible. From listening to the soundtrack, I had no idea what the film was going to be about, and then I saw it, and it's this documentary about Jamaica that's filmed in the this sort of region. It's the wild interior region of Jamaica called Cockpit Country. Also the Land of Look Behind. It kind of takes place loosely around the time of the funeral of Bob Marley, but it's not just a documentary of that. You kind of just meet people that live in the region, and it's almost like it's not really heading anywhere. It's just it's a very what's the word, kind of ethnographic, kind of like
slice of life.
Yeah, and it's one of Werner Herzog's favorite films. Like, he thinks it's a perfect film. Jim Jarmusch has kind of lauded it as well as this brilliant piece of art, and it is an absolutely fantastic film. I don't know where I found a copy of it years ago now, but if you search for it on Wikipedia, at the bottom of the page there is a link which tells you that it is available for free to download or watch at the Internet Archive. And on the Internet Archive, which that sounds like the vaguest possible name for anything, there is lots of other things you can find by category, which isn't the same thing. It doesn't tell you where to find them, but there's loads of really, really strange things that you wouldn't necessarily be able to find on services like, Canopy, irrespective of how great that is. Certainly not places like Netflix or Crave or anything like that. So, Land of Look Behind. It's an outstanding film. I don't know what Alan Greenberg went on to do after that, but there's performances from Gregory Isaacs as well throughout it, kind of I think during the actual time when the funeral takes place. It's just it's a very unique film, as far as documentaries go. It's just outstanding. So go and watch that.
I saw it many years ago. There was a copy at Edmonton Public Library.
Wow.
And I think maybe someone I lived with took it out, having heard that this was one of Herzog's favorite movies or something. And it just, at the time, I had never heard patois spoken before, and it was really unlike anything I had ever seen, and was, just...
Yeah, we were saying just before we started kind of recording that the version that I watched the first time around had subtitles, which was useful. Every version I've seen since doesn't have subtitles, so you have to listen quite closely to see to hear what's actually being said. But a lot of it is kind of it's not as though you're just watching kind of like talking heads, people discussing what they do and life. It's people just sort of ruminating on the meaning of existence in some ways, and other parts it's like reflections on their world through poetry and things like that. And other times it's very rhythmic, lyrical. It doesn't really have a sort of direct line through the whole thing, but it's irresistible to listen to at the same time. It's just it lulls you into it, and it's partly to do with the amazing soundtrack as well, and just this sort of.
It's like cinema verite, maybe.
It is.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's just really intimate from my memory. Like their houses are quite small. Mm-hmm. Like it's like a 1 or 2 room house, and then you just feel like you're just watching someone kind of think out loud.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's like. Yeah.
Owen, where have you gone?
Sorry, when I keep getting up, it's because I'm the last 2 times the camera that I'm using stops recording. But the only way I can see that is.